Picture this. You're a comfortable indoor house cat who accidentally finds herself on the scary streets as a stray. What do? Well, that's the scenario at the heart of Copycat, a compelling new game told entirely from the cat's perspective. Will you be able to survive the dangerous outside and make it back home safely? Or will you forever be stranded by clunky writing and terrible tech problems? Those are just a few of the questions we're going to be answering when I review Copycat by first-time developer Spoonful of Wonder. This is the story of what happens when an elderly woman named Olive adopts a new cat. As a widow whose daughter's moved out of town and health is on the decline, Olive is lonely and just looking for a furry friend. Her last cat ended up running away the last time she was rushed to the hospital with bad breathing problems. So the Australian woman purposely sought out a very similar looking kitty to fill that void. Hell, she even called it the same name, Dawn. And you know what? For a while, everything was good. I mean, it took a little while for Dawn to get used to the new surroundings. But before long, she was knocking things off tables, scratching up furniture, and even unraveling rolls of toilet paper. You know, typical cat activities. But when that mean daughter throws the cat outside and the previous pet returns home after running away, Dawn's entire existence gets flipped upside down. She goes from being comfortable and pampered as an indoor cat to becoming an outdoor stray that nobody can love. Has she been replaced by an imposter? Or was she the copycat all along? What Dawn quickly realizes is that things are a bit different on the streets. She'll need to hunt down food and fight for her survival through dangerous neighborhoods, all while going on an epic journey of self-discovery. The events in this game change who Dawn is as a cat and how she views this world. She may dream of wanting to be a wild cat on the prowl, but this former house cat is in for a rude awakening. This is one of those games where the entire story is told from the perspective of the cat. We have a few basic moves like running and jumping, but this is more of a narrative piece than a true cat simulator. We get to see Dawn's inner monologue through on-screen text. This means that we always know what's on her mind and what each meow means. There's also voiceover narration that'll often be describing what the cat is doing as if our hero is part of some wild animal documentary. The host narrates in a hushed tone that is both informative and slightly insulting, perfectly representing Dawn's anxieties and fears. Although this is primarily a story-driven game, there are actually quite a few different activities and missions to complete along the way. There are a few simple puzzles to solve early on, as well as a whole mini-game built around you hunting for small critters Dawn can pounce on. Sometimes you'll need to sneak by a bunch of guard dogs, while later she'll need to run away from a bunch of violent street cats. There are also platforming sections, believe it or not. The game does a good job of keeping things moving at a nice clip, but also giving you a lot to do along the way. Between the trading places theme and the elderly woman with a nasty cough, I went into Copycat expecting it to be emotional. I mean, I was ready to shed a few tears and really connect with Dawn and Olive's relationship. But that's not what happened. In a twist I certainly didn't see coming, I found that none of the emotional story beats worked for me. In fact, the second half of the game actually left me angry. And there's a reason for that, but first, we're gonna need to talk about a minor spoiler. You see, for a long time, Olive doesn't realize that New Dawn and Old Dawn have switched places. She just thinks that there's a stray cat outside that looks almost exactly like the one that she just adopted. However, eventually she does put it together and she realizes that Old Dawn is back, effectively leaving New Dawn homeless. So, now that she's figured that out, she decides to take New Dawn back to the cat shelter, right? No, that's not what she does. Her solution to this two-cat problem is, well, it's to drive all the way out to the middle of nowhere and leave Dawn by the side of the road. She doesn't try to find the cat a new home or anything like that. She just leaves it in the middle of nowhere to fend for itself. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I'm sympathetic that she's an old woman who can barely take care of herself, let alone 2 cats. But what about the wild animals? What about food? What about the elements? Seriously, why not take the cat back to the damn shelter like a normal human being? See, the problem with this plot point is that it colors the complete second half of the game. I went from being incredibly sympathetic to her plight to wanting Dawn to claw her damn eyes out. I was livid, and I'm not the only one. Dawn is angry too, but also scared and fighting for her survival? This one story beat completely undermines the entire message of the game, and I found myself getting angrier as the game tries to absolve the elderly woman of her bad deeds. The way the story wraps up really left a bad taste in my mouth. Man, it sends a really bad message. Now, story problems aside, Copycat also has a number of technical problems that need to be worked out. For one thing, it's never actually clear when the game is saving, or even if it is saving. There's no way to manually save the game, so I figured that I was safe to exit after the first act concluded. Nope! When I logged back in, I was shocked to see that I couldn't continue. I mean, the game told me that I was going to overwrite my saved data if I started a new game, but there was no way to continue from the last checkpoint. I just ended up having to play the first hour of the game all over again. Sadly, that's not the only time this happened. On my second attempt at the game, the action froze as Dawn was trying to get the cat food out of the cupboard. Then, quite a bit later, it got stuck in one of the dream sequences. I could move the camera around, but I couldn't move the cat. I couldn't even pause the game to exit. I was just stuck in a dream. Thankfully, in both of those situations, I was able to continue from the last checkpoint. Not sure why I couldn't before. Look, there are things that I really do like about Copycat. Like the entire first act, the variety of activities, the narration, and of course, the journey of self-discovery. It looks good, controls reasonably well, and I love that we're given a meow button. Unfortunately, the whole thing is undone by a single plot point that'll turn you against the character you're supposed to have sympathy for. I don't know, perhaps cat lovers will be able to overlook the dubious writing, but it left me angry and it left me annoyed. You're better off sticking with Stray. If you can overlook some questionable plotting issues, you'll find a short but impactful journey with a likable cat hero and a cool switcheroo story. Seeing a comfortable house cat suddenly have to fight for survival on the dangerous streets as a stray is a great way to look at anxiety and overcoming fears. And you'll want to root for Dawn to reunite with Olive no matter what it takes. The problem is that the dopey writing seemingly goes out of its way to make you hate Olive, and the game is never able to recover from this stumble. Throw in some game-breaking technical problems and you'll find that despite having a lot of potential, Copycat is a hard game to recommend to anybody but the biggest cat lovers. Hey, thanks for watching my review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite video game cat? Honestly, it can be whoever you want. Literally any cat. Even Bubsy. But come on, there's gotta be a better video game cat than Bubsy, right? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back next week with reviews of Drive Rally and Iron Meat, along with some retro magazine crap. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,